On this week's Hockey Inside Out, we discussed Marc Bergevin's summer priorities, and I asked the panel what top free agents they'd like to see on the team next year. My name is Adam Sussler. I want to welcome you to this week's edition of Hockey Inside Out. With me, we have Mr. Stu Cowan, CBC Daybreak's Jessica Resnack, and Chris Knuckles-Nyland. The Columbus Blue Jackets shocked the hockey world by dismantling the Tampa Bay Lightning in what will go down as one of the biggest upsets in NHL history. As a Canadiens fan, it's hard to wonder what could have been had the team been in the same position. Although the Canadiens surprised everyone this season, they simply were not good enough to make the playoffs. Heading into the summer, what should Marc Bergevin's top two priorities be?
Well, first of all, Columbus is a lot better team than the Canadiens, where people were thinking if the Canadiens were there, they might have been the moves that Columbus made at the trade deadline. It took them a while to gel, but I mean, we saw when the Canadiens played in Columbus at the end of the season what Columbus did to them, so they're a much better team. But speaking of Columbus and the Canadiens, if I'm Marc Bergevin, the guy I'm going after this summer is Mete Duchene, because we talk about the center position with the Canadiens. The Canadiens need like a point per game player. They need a guy who's going to get 85, 86 points during the season. They haven't had one in so long. If you get Duchene, then you have down the middle, you have Duchene. You have, you can move Max Domi to the wing. You have Danault, you have Kotkaniemi, and then you have Paling or Wheel if they bring back Wheel. Mm-hmm. And you're solid down the middle. You have a point per game guy. So that's the guy I would be going hard at if I was Marc Bergevin.
For the offseason, I would say finding a backup goaltender who can give Carey Price a little bit of a rest, that he doesn't have to take the whole team and put him on his back as the season starts to get to the end. And I think it would be good. I know some people are saying have Charlie Lindgren as his backup, but I don't think that's the solution there. Find, a veteran NHL player that is kind of how Antti Niemi was, but just not past his prime at that point. Have someone who's able to, still play about, 20 to 25 games for Carey Price.
Honestly, I don't care who he signs, just make this team better. Bottom line, you can think Anders Lee with the Islanders, free agent, Panarin, these guys, they're going to be a ton of money. They have the money, but it's going to be difficult only because of the taxes here in Quebec. Yeah. And it's a big issue. When guys are going into that free agent year, there's so many more attractive places. Listen, they want to win. I know guys want to win, but they also want to be able to set themselves up for the rest of their living days. And quite frankly, there's a couple places in the States you could play and you pay no state tax. So that's a big, big part of it. I don't think it's so much, the pressure there and all that. I think when guys get here, they realize how much they love it, and it's a great place to play when you win it. But that's like anywhere.
I think, in the atmosphere, you talk about Max Domi and Thomas Tatar, two guys who came here and loved it. Those are guys. And Duchene's played in Ottawa. He's sort of, I think he seems like a guy who might thrive in a real hockey market, sort of like Domi did. We see how he's sort of feeding off the atmosphere in Columbus now in the playoffs. So, again, that's who I go after.
Fix the power play, maybe we should be a top priority.
That would, Mete Duchene could help with that also.
So what other top free agents would you like to see on the Canadiens and why?
I think maybe find a defenseman, maybe a quarterback power play type guy also. Jeff Skinner's out there also, a kid who can put the puck in the net, young. And I think with this team, they're a young team. When I say Duchene, he's a young guy also. So I don't think they get some young, keep that. Bergevin said his reset, or whatever he calls it, is about youth and speed, so I think he needs to continue along those lines.
What do you mean, whatever he calls it? It's a reset.
Yeah.
A reset. Whatever he calls it.
That's pretty clear.
I know a lot of people are hoping that Panarin could potentially come to Montreal, but I just don't necessarily see him, if he can choose wherever to go. There will be a lot of teams trying to woo him, that Montreal might not be the place that he would want to go. As we said, the taxes are a big situation there, and when he is probably the biggest name when it comes to free agent, I think it might be a little bit too difficult to try and land him here.
I can see him ending up in Florida with Joel Kenville. They have a history together. You're talking about taxes.
Florida. Right there, that's a perfect place. Plus Panarin, he'll have no one to speak Russian to here. There's no more Russians here. So, listen, the guys are out there, I like the Sunday Anders Lee. He's a big kid, strong kid. This team has to get bigger up front. That's just one of their needs. But when you look at what Columbus has done here in the playoffs, boy, it's funny, at the beginning of the season, everybody's thinking you got to get small and fast. everything's wide open. But who's left standing usually? It's those big, strong teams, and Columbus is one of them. So I'm not saying you have to, all your players have to be big and strong, but you certainly need that healthy mix to be able to insulate some of them smaller guys.
Well, somebody tweeted, I can't remember who the other day, saying thanking the Blue Jackets because maybe they'll make the trade deadline relevant again.
Yeah.
Because it's the team that really rolled the dice on the trade deadline, went out big, got the guys that they thought would get them over the hump. It looked like it was totally going to backfire on them.
Oh, yeah.
But now, they have to be considered one of the favorites to win the Cup after knocking off the team that was supposed to win the Cup.
Yep. Max Domi did not miss one game this season. He finished with a career-high 72 points. He was a plus 20. Do you think he could produce the same type of numbers next season?
I personally don't see why not. I think Max Domi, when he was with Arizona, it was just an environment that just wasn't working for him. And he came here to Montreal. He really thrived in being a fan favorite, having the pressure on him, and he was able to show people that he's a good hockey player, and he's a young player. He really likes the environment that he's in. For the most part, the players that are on the team that helped him will be there next year. So, I don't necessarily know if he'll put up the exact same numbers, but I think he will still be a huge factor offensively with the Montreal Canadiens next season.
I see him as like a 70-point guy. I'd be shocked if he doesn't come close to the same numbers he had this season just because he's so fired up and he plays. He loves playing here, and it shows in his performance, his work ethic. Excuse me, he works almost as hard as Brendan Gallagher with a better skill set, and faster. And you talk about him playing every game. The other thing you really have to admire with Domi, too, type 1 diabetic. Like, he has to really take care of himself. He has his own personal chef for his meals. He has to check his insulin and everything like that. So he's a guy who's really, really committed to the game, and hard work, usually you're rewarded for it. And he works hard, and he's got skills. So.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think they'll probably be with the same guys again. It'll probably be a center iceman again, and good for him. I think he'll do it again. There's no reason why he shouldn't. I don't think we're going to see him go back to scoring 9 goals. Try playing in Arizona with that hapless bunch at the time.
And the atmosphere.
Okay, the atmosphere. It's just, come on. You come out every day, this cactus.
It's 80 degrees.
You're in it. You're right in it. And it helps some guys. There's no question about it. I don't see any reason why this kid can't get 70 points again.
Well, I go back to Matt Duchene, and I say, so you get Matt Duchene, you put him at center, you move Domi to the wing with Matt Duchene.
Would he be as effective at the wing? That's the thing. Like, a lot of those points come from being in that center ice position, being able to dish the puck too, you know what I mean? So, I like him where he is at center, but he could play wing. Depends who they get. It's all like speculation.
But I also think with Max Domi, pride comes into it too, that he wants to show that last season wasn't just a one-off, that he's a player that can do this consistently as well.
Yeah, he wants to prove that he's better than his father. Consistently. Better.
You must have fought his dad a couple of times, Stephen?
One time.
One time?
He was coming in, I was going out.
Was this at the Bell Center this
Training camp. I was in training camp.
And who won?
Yeah, it wasn't kind of a nothing fight, couple punches, nothing big, He has a big head.
As impressive as the Canadiens season was, they were never truly able to solve their power play. Do you think they're going to go out and find a new power play coach?
I think they should. There's no salary cap on coaching. And you look at, Columbus went out and hired Marty St. Louis as a power play coach, and it seemed to work. I think they got to do something. Whatever they tried this year just didn't work, and I think whether they bring in a power play specialist coach. I've mentioned on this show before, Guy Carbonneau, Knuckles' buddy, when he was head coach of the Canadiens, they had the #1 power play in the NHL 2 years in a row. Maybe you bring him in as a consultant, but I think they've got to. They can't just go back and do the same thing again next year.
Well, that's just it. They have to do something. They have to bring a new voice or something to shake it up, because all through the season they tried to make little changes and to try and fix the power play. I remember when Shea Weber comes back from his injury, he's going to be the spark that they needed, and that wasn't able to happen. So that's going to be one of his top priorities, is trying to figure out how to get the power play working, and it might have to be an outside voice.
Yeah, I'm not worried behind getting a new coach for that. Honestly, I think it's, and not that it wouldn't help. I just believe a lot of this is on the players. listen, the same guy, well, a different guy will come in here and probably do the same things on the power play. It comes down to execution, the will to want to score goals, doing certain things out there on the ice that I'm sure have all been addressed. But it comes down to doing them. And, we can say the coach this, the coach that, all we want. But really, when it comes down to it, it is the players, and they're not getting it done. The quarterback on the power play, Jonathan Drouin, was miserable this year on the power play, and that has to change.
He was predictable too. That was they became predictable. You knew he wasn't going to shoot, and they were trying to find Weber, and it's not that hard to defend a predictable power play.
They play so well on 5-on-5. I wonder if they've tried just pretending they're not on a power play, just keeping the status quo. Young Victor Mete spent a lot of time as Shea Weber's defense partner this season. Would you be comfortable seeing the pair partnering up again next season?
I think Bergevin's going to try and find somebody else, but Mete played well with Weber, and people talk about Weber helping Mete. Mete helps Weber. Weber's not that fast anymore, and when they dump it in his corner, you watch so many times Mete goes and gets it. It's sort of like when Piqué was playing with Markov at the end of his career, and they dump it in Markov's corner, and Piqué was quick enough to go over there and get it. And Mete really improved after they sent him to Laval when they were saying his gap wasn't good. He was like just sort of kept backing up on the guys coming into his own zone, and he really improved that. And the kid can skate, he can move, he's a modern day defenseman. He still doesn't have a goal, but that'll come at some point. So is it the best situation moving forward? Maybe not, but I don't have a problem if they come back again next year like that.
I think it's just a little bit of a shame that they haven't been able to find someone to play with Shea Weber consistently. However, as you did mention that Mete has been doing a good job, but you have to wonder, what are they going to do with Carl Alsner? Like that money that is being tied up right now with him being down in Laval could be money that they could use to get a defenseman of good caliber to play with Shea Weber there. So, I think it might kind of be the situation that Victor Mete is going to be the guy that they'll rely on to grow and learn from Shea Weber and be his defense partner.
Alsner will get bought out. It's just a matter of whether it's this summer or next summer. I think they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the pairing. Again, Mete, after he got sent down to come back, he played well. He's going to have his moments where he's not going to be able to win those battles. He can't play that physical game. He has to use his head, use his stick, use his positioning, all those things. But, I think he did an adequate job throughout the season. But listen, if they get better there, they get better there. If not, he'll do. It's a question of what this general manager does in the offseason.
The other possibility is bumping Brett Kulak up. I mean, he played with Weber when he first came here, and he played well. And as the season went on, he got better and better, and he played really well with Petrie. And Kulak was one of the real nice surprises. And he's a big guy. Yep. He can skate. He's a little bit more physical than Mete. So I think between those two, they can figure something out.
Okay. Well, that is our show for this week. That is our final show for this season. From all of us here at Hockey Inside Out, we want to thank you for tuning in and watching the show each week. We appreciate it. We will be back during the summer with new shows about the Canadiens' draft picks and off-season moves, so check with us then. Enjoy your spring and the rest of the playoffs. I'm Adam Susser, and we'll see you soon.